there's going to be suffering, there's going to be bad times.
But the same goes for the positive. There goes part of our electricity.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Ali Brothers YouTube channel. So the thing that we wanted to discuss today was this idea of practical optimism. And we'll explain exactly what we mean by that. But I was thinking that we could have just as easily, in a way, titled this video. Now, we can explain by the end of this video what we mean by this, but forced optimism.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it. What exactly is practical about the optimism that we want to talk about?
So when it comes to optimism in the religion of Islam, right, it's very important to note that kind of everything that's promoted by the religion is conditioning us to be optimistic in all scenarios, right? So everything we do, even negative situations. And actually, before we dive into the topic, it's very important to say that in Islam, it's not that suffering is denied or pain is denied. In fact, it's very obvious that the Prophet Muhammad's life, his whole life, was basically suffering. All of it was suffering. And he went through more than most ever will, the amount of suffering he went through. What Islam focuses on is optimism in every situation.
It wants to shift your perspective on the situation.
Yeah, it's not airy-fairy. It's very real and solid in its method, let's say.
It's redirecting our focus
Our
in a
attention,
way that is most beneficial for ourselves in this world.
Yeah.
There's going to be suffering, there's going to be bad times. But as you were saying, like the manifestation, even the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions, and all those people who actually wanted to achieve something great in this world, their lives were the definition of suffering. So that's going to happen. But it's about how you want to focus on things. What do you want to focus on?
Exactly.
And from the religion, now we're not going into the theophilosophical explanation of this, but in Islam, we're not allowed to believe in bad omens or these kind of superstitions.
Yeah.
So if there's something negative that happens in your day, we're not meant to, as Muslims, focus on that and think that, oh, this happened, it's a rainy day, it's a depressing day, I'm not going to pass my exam today. Or
A cat crossed your path.
Those are the superstitions that are common, the number 13, these kind of things. So we're not allowed to believe in this.
That's right.
But on the other hand, it's recommended that we take the positive out of situations.
Yeah, it's encouraged.
When it comes to good omens or things that will lift your spirits, that is something that we should do. And that is something that is recommended by the religion of Islam. Well, a very easy example would be if you see a rainbow outside and you have an exam or you have something that you want to achieve, you're waiting for an acceptance letter from a university.
That's right.
And you get hopeful that, you know, inshallah, this is a sign from God that hopefully I'll achieve this today. Some of the conditions that are necessary for this as Muslims is, number one, that we connect that to God. That we don't say that omen itself or that sign itself is what's causing the success. That you connect it to God. And secondly, that you take something positive out of it. You're not allowed to take something negative. So it's redirecting our focus.
That's it. And if we, just to take that example, if we're constantly looking for the positives in our life, we can see how our perspective completely changes. So in every situation, no matter where we are or what we're doing, we're going to focus on the positives. So as a result, what happens, even if we encounter negative situations, we're going to view it as something completely different. We're going to view it as, this is the will of God. As a result of this negative encounter that I've had, maybe I've been protected from an even bigger negative encounter later on. And this is what we believe as Muslims. Or maybe the Lord is going to provide me with something great later. As a result of that, we live a much more fulfilled, content life.
Even from a physiological sense. I mean,
that's right.
You know a bit more about this. There are studies that show that people who focus on positives, people who have more of an optimistic view of life, that's basically what's going to happen for them, if that's what they focus on.
They were talking about a study that was done on the older generation of people, and they interviewed all of these people, and the people that associated old age with positive emotions like freedom, independence, children, etc., they lived longer and healthier lives. And the other group, which focused on the negatives of getting older, and they associated old age with things like disease, loneliness, etc. They lived shorter lives, and also they were more prone to disease. And that's very interesting, that there's a very clear physiological effect. How about we believe in a system that actually serves us rather than constantly is taking energy away from us?
When we encounter a situation in life, we have the choice to choose to view it negatively or positively. If you fail an exam, for example, either you can dwell on the fact that you failed this exam and you can focus on all the logical reasons why you failed it and all the negative outcomes that it would have. That's what your life is going to be.
Yeah.
An example, when I was learning to drive, my driving instructor was like, if you focus on the cars on the other side, you're going to veer towards the cars because that's what you're focusing on. 100%. So you're going to find yourself going that way. But even if you have something that is perceived negatively, that can be perceived negatively, you can take positivity out of that.
Just to be clear, you can't just lazily blame God. You failed an exam, you're blaming God, but you didn't actually put any work in it. So that's not what we believe in Muslims. It's sunnah to work hard and to practically work towards our goals. But after we do the absolute best, after we do everything we can in order to achieve that goal, then we leave it to Allah.
It's a package deal.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't just take the positive aspect of it and forget all the hard work that's right. necessary. It's a package deal.
Yeah, that's right. And it's very important to note that if you really start logically breaking your life down, you can find so many negatives. If you really want, generally we can find what we're looking for. If we want to focus on the negatives, we can find hundreds of negatives in our life, right? But the same goes for the positive sides. So if we start focusing on the positives, our perspective is going to shift dramatically, especially in this day and age. When we focus on the negatives, it can easily result in nihilism. It can result in depression, especially in the Western world, when all of our basic needs are met. Yes. All of our basic needs are met. And I think this is a big problem that we face, that most people don't have a problem with shelter. Most people don't have a problem with food, right? With energy. Generally speaking, this isn't the problem in the West. So as a result of that, we're almost automatically ungrateful of these things. We take them for granted. Imagine this, think about this. Most people in the West can have a shower at any time, at any temperature, and we don't really even think about that as something to be grateful for. And whereas the reality is that this doesn't exist in many places in the world right now. So when we focus on every positive, our overall emotions we're going to go through life with that positive emotion. And also a side effect of that is that it's going to rub off on other people too. And basically, even as you're walking down the street, you're going to be spreading that positivity.
And it allows you to slow down and really think very specifically about the blessings that you have.
Well, speaking of electricity, there goes part of our electricity.
But yeah, the last point that I wanted to mention before this slide goes off was a situation in the life story of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where one of his companions, due to a situation, he cursed Satan. He said, may Allah curse Shaitan, may Allah curse Satan. And he said to him that, why did you say this? Why didn't you say Bismillah, in the name of Allah? It's not incorrect as a Muslim to say, may Allah curse Satan. We do that before we recite the Quran. That's what we do. And that's not theologically problematic. But he's saying you could have just said Bismillah and got the blessings of that. And you're focusing on something different. He said when you acknowledge Shaitan, when you acknowledge Satan, then he becomes so big.
That's right.
Then he becomes arrogant. Yes, this person, he realized that I affected him.
That's right.
He was affected by me. But if he did something to you,
yeah.
But you're like, I don't need to acknowledge this person. What am I going to do dwelling on this? Yeah. Bismillah, I'm going to connect myself to God. I'm going to focus on something positive. So what are you focusing on? That's the end of this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
It was charged to like 80-something%.
Yeah.